Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and today I'm doing a 12 by 12 review of Revive. And if you're like, hey, I don't really know what a 12 by 12 review is, that would make sense. The very nature of the format means they are very infrequent videos on this channel, showing up a few times a year. But the basic idea is it's an in-depth review where I have to have played the game at least 12 times, 12 times is the minimum, but then also, and more importantly, I have to have covered every single variation, every player count, every expansion, every module, everything you could possibly do about the game I have to have done within reason. I don't have to have played every module and every faction at every player count within reason. But to that end, I have done that by now with Revive. I have something like 30 plus plays under my belt. I have gone through everything here. I've played at all player counts. I have played the campaign. I have played with all the modules, all the variants. I've played with the expansion. I've played it solo. I've done everything you can do with this game, and I'm going to give you my thoughts on those experiences, as well as whether things have changed since my last reviews, which some things have. Speaking of which, I will not be telling you how to play the game in this video. I already have done a review on Revive, as well as a review on the Call to the Abyss expansion. Both of those I will link to down below if you want to see how to play those. I'll cover those there. But for right now, I will be giving you my updated thoughts, having all these plays under my belt. And to that end, we're going to jump straight into it. Revive is a tableau building game, by the way. There's a whole, I'm not going to try to distill how to play Revive into this. It's too much going on. Watch those reviews, pop back here, or you already know how to play Revive and you just want to know what I think about it after this many plays. Let's go through it one at a time. Let's start with the basics. I loved Revive. I thought Revive was great. I believe I gave it a 5 out of 5 originally. The expansion I was pretty positive on, not as positive, but I liked the expansion. I thought it was a good expansion. I believe I said in the review that I'd probably play with it most of the time. Things have changed there. We'll talk about that. But in general, I'm starting off pretty positive on Revive. There's a reason I've played it so many times. My 12 by 12 review series doesn't exist on games I don't enjoy because I'm not going to dive into every variation on a game I don't like. So starting off, we're already good. I like this game. What's changed over those plays? Well, let's start with player count. Player count wise, having played this, I've only played it once solo, but every other player count, I have a whole bunch of plays under my belt. So let's start with the player counts, then go into solo. You might already have an idea of what I feel about that because I only played it once. But diving into the other player counts, 3 players is easily my favorite player count of Revive, starting off there. It's just the best way to play the game. It's the best compromise as far as having interaction, but not too much downtime. 4 is still good. 2 is still good. I have most of my plays at 2 and 3, a few at 4 players. I think 3 is easily the best, but I would happily play it at any count. I think my preference is 3, then 2, then 4. While there's a little less interaction on the board at 2 players, it's a faster game, and I always like a faster game. It means you can play more games, and so 4 is still good, but I think it's 3, then 2, then 4 as far as player count, but I would play at all player counts. It's a great game at all player counts. As far as solo unfortunately is a pass for me. The base solo mode, and I should note I have not played the expansion achievements they have, nor have I played the custom variants out there. There are some fan-made variants of the solo mode that give you more of an autonomy to go through. Those might be something that's more up your alley. I haven't played custom fan variants. I've only played the base game solo mode. Now to that end, the base game solo mode is kind of just beat your own score. You're working with a limited economy of card actions in the game, and then you're just trying to get a better score each time. The only redeeming factor I have on that is the fact that you could play with different factions each time. I mean, there's multiple factions between the base game, between the expansion. There's multiple sides to each faction. So you could use the solo mode as a good way to try out each faction and see how high you can get. But I generally don't like beat your own score in solo modes. To me, it's like as soon as you do it, it kind of feels like there's not nearly as much point in doing it again, unless you have some sort of set of challenges or a solo bot or whatever it is. So for me, the solo mode, unfortunately, is still not bad. You have the tableau building, you have the engine building, you have all the things that make Revive great, but it doesn't make me want to play the solo mode again. Again, the one redeeming aspect would be trying it with different factions, but I don't care enough for the solo mode. So solo mode for me is unfortunately a pass. The campaign in Revive also feels like it's not bad, but I would recommend for most people who are playing this game, unless you are the kind of person who dives into your games again and again and again, for most people I think you can safely skip the campaign. I only bothered fully finishing the campaign after I had already played through Revive a bunch. I kind of played the campaign initially, then played Revive, then came back to it to go through it all to experience everything. But the campaign is a way of slowly unlocking some degree of variant rules as well as extra content for the game. So when you dive into Revive, it's not really a campaign game. It is a Euro game that's going to give you a solid Euro experience with all this goodness you see here, but the campaign will unlock more cards, will unlock a few advanced actions, will unlock new factions and the reverse side of factions, but you could just go straight to all that content and not play through the campaign. And if you are someone who doesn't play your games a ton, if you're going to play a nice heavy Euro 3 times a year, meaning specifically a specific Euro, if it's only going to get 3 plays a year, skip the campaign. There's no reason to go through it heavily. It's always there if you want it, but I just think that there's no real strong degree of meaningfulness. The story's kind of weak. The way it unlocks content, it kind of feels like it's forcing you to play through the games to get to the unlocked content, although of course you can skip it, and my recommendation is to do so. Now don't get me wrong, I don't mind the campaign. It's just a way of kind of adding like this little kind of slight flavor, although it's so minimal as to basically be non-existent, but then dripping that extra content towards you. A few rules variation and some more advanced factions and the reverse side of factions and cards and things like that. So I don't mind the campaign, but I think for most people, I don't think it's the best way to guide people through that content because it forces you to play the game a bunch to get there. Outside of that, as far as the variants in the game has a bunch of variants that will add to your experience, or give you variations in experience. The first and the most important of which, the one I will always play with every single time, is the longer game. You see, Revive ends when you go through all these artifacts, but you're supposed to play, well, the longer game allows you to play with the amount of artifacts at a higher player count. So 2 plays at 3, 3 plays at 4, and 4 has a rule where you add a few of these tokens, and that's when the game end triggers. I love getting things done in Revive, and to me those extra artifacts are easily, I always play with them. It's the best way to play the game because you get to do more in this game. I know I said shorter games means you get to play games more, but also being able to do more is also fun, and Revive, one of my biggest complaints against it is I always feel like my engine's up and running right as game end triggers, and I'm always like, I just so many things I wanted to do in this game, and I have my engine worked out. The timing's great, the timing works, I think very highly of Revive, but I do think those extra artifacts really add to my experience, so easily I would always recommend them. There's some other things like drafting cards, tribe selection, or your starting goal selection. Always use those in my opinion. Well, drafting cards I don't bother with, but the rest of it, because I just feel it adds a little degree of AP and slowdown to the start of the game in a way that doesn't necessarily add to my experience. But the choice of these, the choice of your tribes, that I'm easily fine with and always recommend. We have these particular tokens over here. These are something that, again, it gets unlocked in the campaign expansion, and it gives you a new tile type that basically flips over, and it gives you more points as well as crystals, as opposed to giving you the reverse side of these. I don't love these. I play with them sometimes, but I really don't love them. I feel like they're not nearly as compelling as the rest of the board. They function. I'm not saying they're imbalanced or not as good. I'm just saying that as a player, I find that both myself and the people I play with tend to not go for these quite as much. At the right time in a pinch, sure, they can be helpful for points, for crossing a certain threshold, for getting those crystals, but if you have too many gears, it can be helpful. But for the most part, I find that most people I play this game with just don't find that as compelling. So I've more often than not taken to not including those in my games. I don't mind them, but if anything, I'm slightly irritated that they're clogging up my board and not allowing me to do fun things. So these tiles over here, kind of a miss for me. Again, they're not really bad. I'll use them once in a while, but for the most part, I try to shy away from them. So that's as far as, I think that mostly covers the various things you're unlocking. Past that, the rest of the stuff from the campaign that you unlock is all great. The advanced factions, the other side of the factions, the extra tiles you're going to get, all those, the cards, all the stuff that's like more advanced, it's all good. It's all good stuff, and I'm happy it's there. I just don't think you should have to go through the campaign to get to all of it. As far as the expansion, that's the main area where my opinion has changed over this many plays. I'm at the point where I kind of prefer not to play with the expansion. And the expansion adds a bunch of things that are pretty nice in terms of what they do, but I find they distract from my core structure of what I want to do when I play Revive. You get these like fancy little lake tiles over here. You have this whole of the track that you're working towards separate points. Those points are going to earn you these cool wild cards. You have these over here, which you can move your switch in order to take one of these cards and trade in. There's a whole thing. Again, you can watch my full review of the expansion, and the expansion is not bad. I like it, and I liked it more when I first played it. But the more I have played Revive, the more I have felt that while the expansion adds some cool new things, it ultimately feels similar to the way these kind of feel like a slightly less fun version of what I'm trying to do on the board. The expansion has the same problem to me. I do still use the expansion for when I want to mix up the experience, like, I'll play 4 games of Revive, and then the 5th game I'll be like, let's throw the expansion in for fun. There's some nice things. One of my favorite things is you have another tile. You have one of these big places over here, these big cities that will go off to the side over here, and then players can earn that. That's easily my favorite part because it's one more of those that you're almost guaranteed to get when you play with the expansion, and so it forces me to kind of know that I'm getting that and then work my way around that. Like, my goals are now adjusted around this scoring thing that we're all going to get. So there are good things about the expansion in a way that I still do throw it into my games, but at this point I throw it in every 4th game, every 5th game, when I'm kind of trying to mix up the experience I'm having. But then as soon as I play with it, I go back to the base game for a few games because I find that's where I prefer the experience. So that's honestly the biggest change from my original review of both the base game and the expansion. I have really learned that the base game to me shines. I am happy to have the expansion. I use it occasionally, but the base game is where I most prefer my experience. And again, that includes those gear tiles as well. Which brings us to my opinion of the base game. I don't think anything has meaningfully changed here, except for the fact that I've played this game so much as I have, and I still love coming back to it. Everything about Revive is an incredibly satisfying experience of trying to find ways to build out your tableau. I have learned over those 30 plays that I'm not as good at it as I would like to be. I find I focus a little bit too much on the engine building aspect and a little bit too little on actually getting artifacts and winning the game. Like, a big part of the game is trying to build around your personal objectives, gathering these artifacts, and then working your way towards these things, which I do great. I work my way towards these, a little bit less so on actually gaining the artifacts. I'm so focused on one half of the multiplier that I forget that you really want to maximize by getting both halves of your multipliers. You want to be good at this thing and then get the artifacts that score you that thing. If you only get the artifacts, you're not going to score very well. If you only get the things you're good at, you're not going to score very well. You really want to get both, and I keep focusing on this one and not the artifacts quite as much. And so I have learned I'm not great at Revive, but I love the tableau building. I love the engine building. I love how you're drawn into different directions. I still, like, one of the things I said in my original review is I do find that very often you'll only get one of these tiles of these big city locations, and after this many plays, I can say that that's still true for me. I would say the majority of the games I play, a player gets one of these, and then sometimes, maybe 25% of the time, a player will get 2 of them. I'm sure I'd have to think through whether anyone ever got 3. I'm sure it's doable. I don't recall anyone ever getting 3, but it may well have happened, and 4, I would be shocked. And obviously, this does not include the expansion one, but these locations over here, if you've played this game enough and someone has ever gotten 3 or 4, I would love to know. Because again, for me, the vast majority of my games, each player gets 1. It is rare that someone gets 0, and it's rare that someone gets 2, but 2 definitely has happened. But 3, I don't know if it ever has. But overall, the tableau building here, the way you build up your personal board, the way you can augment it with all of these tiles, all of these machines, the way your personal board develops still remains an incredibly compelling challenge. The variation on this main board as you flip over tiles, as you get to orient them, every game you're creating a fully custom board as far as the lake tiles you have, the exact setup, the combination of your tribe abilities, and all of that has been so incredibly satisfying. I don't think there's a tribe that I don't like. The tribes all provide so much interesting decision space around how you're going to play your game. And the combination of your scoring card, the tribes you have, the board layout, the big city tiles over here, all of those are going to combine to give you a slightly unique puzzle building off of the same general framework that is still, this many plays in, is still such an incredibly satisfying experience. Overall, rating-wise, this is still a 5 out of 5 game for me. It is a game that I have, again, in the past month, I've easily played it 10 times at least, and over the past, since I've had it over 30 plays. But the biggest thing for me is that I'm not in any way sick of it yet. I find that my favorite games in my collection are not just ones that are, oh my gosh, I love that game, but rather they're games that, oh my gosh, I love that game, and then I play it 30 times and I'm still just as excited to dive into another game, and Revive has hit that plateau for me. It has hit that aspect where it doesn't matter how often I play this, I still am trying to jump in for that number crunchy goodness of how to slightly more efficiently play my engine this time. I do win it, but not nearly as much as I should, statistically speaking. I think I'm decent at games, at least in my win rates or whatever, but when it comes to Revive, I definitely need to get better at the game. That's not why I like it, Maybe it is why I like it. Maybe because I want to get better. I don't know. I like it a lot. It is a very satisfying tableau building game that has slight shifts to the approach you take in ways that continue to maintain the excitement of the experience. The biggest change for me is that the expansion, Call to Abyss, I find far less necessary, and one that I only include every 4th or 5th game just to mix up the experience. So rating rise on Revive is going to be a 5 out of 5. Rating rise on Call to Abyss, I think I'm going to drop it to a 3 out of 5. I like the variation it provides, but I prefer the core experience of what Revive offers. So that's my 12 by 12 review of Revive, covering the player counts, the modules, the expansions, the campaign, all of the things that make Revive, and of course letting you know that 30 plus plays later, this is still exactly where it started. In any case, until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed this review, and as always, I hope you have a good one.